everybody, and welcome to the HERstory Collaborative. Jen Buck here, and I'm your host. We are focusing on advocating, activating, and amplifying high-performing women, and that's what the HERstory Collaborative is really all about. I like to highlight women who are changing their little corner of the world. Now, today, my guest is Chris Love. She's a tribal attorney and unapologetic reproductive rights advocate. Chris has dedicated her legal career to serving indigenous communities in and around Arizona. She also proudly serves as the board chair for Planned Parenthood Advocates of Arizona, the political advocacy and education organization that supports the work of Planned Parenthood clinics and exists to create a political atmosphere where abortion will remain safe, legal, and accessible in all 50 states. Chris volunteers for the City of Chandler, which she has called home for 20 years, as an appointee on various commissions and boards. Chris is a wife, a mother of 4, a horror movie aficionado, we need to talk about that, and in the before times, as in before COVID, she was an avid concert goer. Now she stays at home, masks up, and builds miniature houses, which I cannot get enough of. Welcome to the collab, Chris. I am so glad that you are here.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for thinking of me to do this. This is really exciting. It's an exciting opportunity for me. And from what I understand, it's an exciting opportunity for you as well. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, we are going to be seen on 50 channels around the world, and this is all brand new. And it makes me giddy, and it's totally exciting. And I'm just so honored that you're here. Now, before we go further, I have to tell you something, which is going to sound a little bit silly, but you were one of my wish list guests. I've got 5 wish list guests, and you were one of them. So I am so glad that you're here.
I feel fancy.
I know, right? Right? It's totally great. So I've got to jump in because for anybody who's listening, you are really a warrior for all things on the right side of right. You know, when I see your posts, when I see the fire that comes, when I see the influence that you have, you really are an extraordinary champion for women's reproductive rights, for equality in our city, for our students, for, you know, your reach goes so far. And, you know, I look at you as a warrior, and I wonder sometimes, you know, do you get tired? I feel like you're always fighting the good fight. And I just wonder if you ever get tired.
Yeah, all the time. You go back to my bio, I'm a wife and mother of 4.
Yeah.
Right now I have a 7-year-old who is right next to me doing online school in a few minutes, right? I'm a full-time attorney. And I feel like Planned Parenthood is my second full-time job a lot of times. So yeah, it's tiring. And I think it's, especially now, given the year that we've had with everything from the pandemic to the uprisings, I think that, you know, I'm tired and at times I feel weary, but also I feel that if I'm not speaking, especially from the platform that I have, then who will, right? So I just, you know, shake it off a little. I take whatever time I need, obviously, and you know, my mini houses are my coping mechanism these days and times of COVID, but I do whatever I need to get myself back to where I need to be in order to keep fighting.
Yeah. And we have to talk about the mini houses because I was obsessed for a while with watching, I think it was on your first, if I remember correctly, and sort of the challenges of, and the excitement around, and these little mini houses are fabulous. What you're doing is just incredible. So tell people what these are about, because they probably are thinking that we're talking about, like, I don't know, something like different, you know, these 600 square foot homes, but that's not what we're talking about.
Right. So I have a then 6-year-old. She became obsessed with these videos where they did like these really miniature building houses and miniature cooking. So it would be like a dollhouse scale, like kitchen. And the folks would actually do the cooking in that small kitchen. And I was like, yeah, I'm never doing that. But I was like, we can build one of these doll houses together. Oh, what a fun project that will be. We're all stuck at home. And so I bought one on Amazon and it came to me and it was a 1/24 scale house. Okay. So it's like half the size of a regular dollhouse. A regular dollhouse is about a 112, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so, so I was like, yeah, my 6-year-old is not going to be able to cut anything with X-Acto knives and do
Yeah.
and it comes in a box with everything, a flat box, right? So you put everything together, right? You like if you're making a flower pot, you're rolling up the flower pot, you're rolling up the individual flowers and cutting everything out. So at first when I got it, I was like, I paid $35 for this thing. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna do this, right?
Yeah.
And it was a lot of cursing and screaming and cutting my fingers with X-Acto knives. But by the end of the process, I was like, oh my gosh, I built this thing and I felt really accomplished. And it was, it looked like trash in comparison to some of the others that I've built since then. But I was like, oh, wait, this is something that keeps me concentrated on all of this stuff that's going on in the world around me. I can focus on this thing and it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And when I get to it, I feel like, oh my gosh, I can do anything, right? I made these teeny little things with my hands. I can do anything. And so I kind of became a little bit low-key obsessed with them.
Yes.
And so I put together many, and actually there's a bookcase behind me now, and it displays some of them because I don't, I make them and give them away or what have you. But, some of them I like to keep because they were gifts. People started sending them to me at one point. So I received like 5 or 6 from folks just ordering them and sending them to my house and saying that we want to see this one.
So nice.
So I can't give those away. I got to keep those, right?
Yeah. Well, and I loved how last summer when things were very intense after George Floyd, and there was a lot, division is kind of what we're all used to now, but there was extreme pain and extreme division happening and fatigue. And it seemed never ending. And I remember watching you with the houses and really having these deep discussions around what was going on in the community as well. So it wasn't just, hey, look at me roll flowers. It was, let's talk about the pain and let's talk about where this has gone totally wrong and how it should be handled. And was that just organic, or was that something that you had sort of planned on?
It was completely organic. I had, things that I wanted to say, and I could say them on the internet, and that was fine. I'm very active on social media. But, there's something to having a discussion with folks. And this is before the days of Clubhouse, right? And so I wanted to say whatever it was that I wanted to say. But I also wanted to build these houses. And I was like, I don't feel like getting dressed and looking cute every day to sit and talk about what I want to say. So here, watch me build this house while I talk about what's going on in electoral politics in Arizona, right? And it just organically became that. I mean, at one point I had our Secretary of State, Katie Hobbs, on with me talking about the election process and what was coming up, and I was building a house while we were talking, right? So it allowed me, I guess, a little bit of space to talk about some serious things, but also folks could just tune in on watching whatever I was doing with my hands. And there was something really cathartic about that for, I think, a lot of folks.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way. And I was so interested in what you were doing, but then the conversation was so strong that I could literally just sort of sit back and be doing work and listening to you. It was like, it became so much more important to hear you and what was happening. And yet what brought me in the beginning was, she's making little couches, or she's making little books, So I remember just really being moved by that. You are in our community, you're a lightning rod, and I love it, but it's got to be tough to be a constant target. And I've watched it. I have seen the posts that have 375 responses, and it's primarily you and one other really obnoxious person, How do you manage that? Because you do have such important work as a tribal attorney. You do have important work leading Planned Parenthood in Arizona. How do you handle this constant, I shouldn't say constant, but how do you handle the attacks?
Sometimes poorly. I mean, to be honest, and I think that I've done, now that we've been home a little bit more and I've had some time to kind of take stock of things, right?
Yeah.
I think that there, before I was willing to jump into just about any fight, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm better at picking and choosing the fights that I feel are the righteous ones, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's tough being a constant target and people telling you that you're wrong. And I think that I'm very, I set some very clear boundaries, right? So if you're coming to my space,
right,
then you are not going to treat me any old kind of way, right? My space is for me to talk about the things that I think and I feel. I didn't ask you what you thought or what you felt, unless I did, right? So
yeah,
a lot of times I ask people for their opinions and,
yeah,
I take those because that's what I've asked for. But
sure,
for most of the part, if you don't see a question mark, then I'm not, I'm just not really interested
right,
in what you have to say. And that's fine.
yeah,
I think people need to understand that that is fine, that those are my boundaries and that's how I'm willing to engage.
yeah,
Now it's a lot easier, on Twitter, you can just stop people from, responding, right?
yeah,
You can choose that approach, but I choose not to do that, right? Because
yeah,
sometimes you want to engage with people who like the same things that you like
yeah,
or dislike the same things that you like. But I think that we all need to understand, and this is where my understanding comes from. Just because I have an opinion about something doesn't mean that that opinion is up for debate or
yeah,
discussion.
absolutely. And I think that that's something that, well, I've grown into this, and I'm someone who I'm a fighter, and I'm someone that is quick to protect boundaries and the boundaries of those that I love. And I'm pretty fearless, about
Mhm.
saying and doing things, but I've gotten to a point where I'm just tired. I
Yeah.
just don't want to engage anymore.
Mhm.
If you're going to
Mhm.
be, frankly, a jackass, I don't think I want to have this discussion any further,
Right.
because I'm only going to get pummeled and it doesn't really matter to me. So it's just sort of a public flogging. And yet
Right.
I don't care, so
Mhm.
now you're just going to sit here and throw mud on me. And it's just, I don't know. I've gotten really funny about that, where I just, block. Like I'm
Yeah, exactly.
block.
Block, delete, unfollow,
Yeah.
unfriend. What's the other one? Snooze.
Yeah.
They're all my friends
Snooze.
at this point, and I don't feel bad about using those tools, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks forget that even though I do a lot of things publicly,
Yeah.
I'm not an elected official.
Right.
I don't hold an office. So that means I'm not a public person. I'm not an entertainer. I'm not any of those things,
Yeah.
right? So that means that I get to define my space,
Right.
and it's not a public sphere.
Yeah.
And so I use that. My sister is on a school board, right? And so a lot of folks were like, well, they confuse or
They
conflate
do.
the both of us. And so
Yeah.
they think they can talk to me any old kind of way because my sister is an elected official.
Right.
And I was like, well, we're two different people.
Yeah.
And, go
And
ahead.
I've seen you say,
Right.
go right ahead. Go
Uh-huh.
ahead and complain about me.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I don't work for them. And I've seen this. And
Right. I mean, I love that folks are, because I say something and I say things pretty plainly because, being an attorney, I think we rely a lot on jargon and,
yeah.
All of this fluffy language, all of this fancy language. But I went to school for journalism back in the day, and you need to communicate to people where they are.
Yeah.
And not everyone has 3 degrees. Right. And so I try to speak as plainly as possible. And, sometimes it comes off a little harsh or, and I'm really cussy and all that kind of stuff. So
Very
it's just
cussy
not
too.
ladylike or whatever. Right. But it's amazing that people think that, because you are very frank with folks, that then they can come back at you and talk to you any old kind of way. So block, delete, whatever, I don't care. And then you can say whatever it is that you want to say about me.
Sure. So tell me, I want to find out about your work as a tribal attorney. I have for, now 10, 11, 12 years, I've worked with Native casinos around the country. And so I know that it's a very different culture to work within. Trust is incredibly important.
Yes.
I'd love to hear about how you got involved in representing and fighting for the tribal community.
Completely by accident. I went to law school with, I graduated with the journalism degree, and then the bubble hit with regard to the media. right? Especially the news media industry, right? So everyone was moving to online formats and the newsrooms were becoming smaller and smaller. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I need to go to school. Let's go to law school. I like to argue.
No kidding.
Right?
Yeah.
I write, I like to argue.
Mhm.
And so I went, being a old school fan of Law and Order, I was like, I'm going to be not a prosecutor. I'm going to be a defense attorney. I'm going to do criminal defense work.
Yep.
And my very first internship after my first year was at the Federal Public Defender's Office in the Capital Habeas Unit. So I somehow ended up working on death penalty appeals and like last stop death penalty appeal. And it was soul sucking. It was soul sucking. And I was like, I'm not made for this work because nobody wins in that situation. There is no clear winner. It's all bad. So
I bet you thought you're going to be the one that gets them off.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's big.
I just don't want to engage in this particular part of the system because it just made me feel sick.
Sure.
There's people who are victims who are suffering, but there's also the folks that are perpetrators who are suffering. And it was just a lot of suffering. So I was like, no. But I happened to befriend a lot of the Native students at school, at law school. There were 7 Black people in my entire class. I remember that. But yeah, and so I, found myself gravitating towards the Native students, and they're like, come on, Chris, take this Indian law class with us. We're all doing the program or whatever, just take the class. Yeah. And I took Indian Law 1, right? Yeah. 101, and did really well in the class. And the professor who was the executive director of the Indian legal program at ASU College of Law, she was like, so do you want to get an Indian law certificate? And I was like, what I gotta do? And it was just take some more classes. And so I graduated from the ILP with an Indian law certificate, and I've been practicing federal Indian law and tribal law and ever since.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So I worked, as I mentioned, with all these different casinos, and it really is a very small community. Now, of course, we know that in general, but it's a very intimate, very intertwined community. And it's something that I've been really proud of, to have these long-standing relationships with different tribes around the country. And there's really great conferences that go on annually that celebrate that and bring business owners together, people who serve within the community. And so I think that's very cool. I never knew this about you, by the way.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we were prepping for this. So I think it's very cool. Now, the other thing that I first found you and I first sort of started following you, I think it was maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. Had to be 2 years ago.
It's a few years, I think. Yeah.
I think it was the luncheon with when you did the interview, right?
With Gloria Steinem. Steinem.
Forget it. Was that life-changing?
Oh my gosh. It's still like, you see, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was the best moment ever. Literally. And I just, I thought that was cute that they asked me to do it. And it was customary because I was the board chair, whatever, but they were like, instead of doing the speech, how about you just interview Gloria Steinem? And I was like, just interview Gloria Steinem? Okay. And so they gave me some questions and I was like, I'm not doing any of these questions. I've got Gloria Steinem. Yes. So I'm gonna ask her what I want to ask her. And y'all, if you thought you were gonna get a cutesy little interview, then you asked the wrong person.
Yeah.
So I got up there and asked Gloria Steinem exactly what I wanted. And she cursed a lot. And she was so authentic, and she held my hand and she took a picture with my dad. And she just, she was amazing. She was amazing and lovely and wonderful and frank and everything that I could have imagined. And I was just so excited that the interview went as well as it did. And so I will remember it forever. I even was doing something else and mentioned, I was like, I don't want to pop my own collar here, but I interviewed Gloria Steinem.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yes, exactly. Listen, it's a life changer, right? I mean, you just don't get women who have created that level of change in their life. You don't get them coming along very often. And so to have, I don't even know how many people were in that audience, but it was a huge audience for her. And even I felt like as a viewer, I mean, I wasn't even interviewing, but as a viewer, it was life-changing for me to be that close to her. I was in the second row and I was like, she's right there. She's just right there. You know how they had the tables set up. And
Uh-huh.
I was so moved. I can't even tell you how many times I teared up and got, just goosebumped from head to toe. It was extraordinary. It was
It was
extraordinary.
amazing. I do it all over again. Gloria, call me.
Yeah, right. Right. Exactly. So tell me about your work with Planned Parenthood. I'm running over and I'm not caring. Tell me about your work with Planned Parenthood.
So I started with Planned Parenthood as a board member. A friend of mine happened to be on the board, and he was like, "We need some changes. So come on." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I attended my very second board meeting 4 days after the election in 2016.
Okay.
So you can imagine what a downer that room was.
Yep.
But at this point, I saw a lot of, I did all of the work I could in order to make sure that Trump wasn't elected.
Yeah.
Right. I did everything that I could. I knew everyone in my community had done everything that they could. And we've been warning people that this was a possibility. So I sat in a room with a bunch of folks that are, liberal and progressive folks and white folks, because I was the only Black person in the room at that time. And they were crying and boo-hooing, and I got up and walked out of the room. And I was very angry. And I was like, you guys got to be kidding me, right? Yeah, and so one of the staff members followed me into the bathroom and said, please don't quit, please don't quit. And I said, okay, well, then I'm taking it over. So, I got together with some of our other board members who are also, Latinx, and then there was just me. And I said, so what we've got to do is change the folks in the room so that we can have the discussions that we really need to have. Because, reproductive rights are important, but, who cares if we have the right to abortion if no one can access it?
Yes.
Right. If the people who need it the most can't access it, then we're doing a poor job.
Right.
And so we made changes at the board. We did EDI training. We've reaffirmed our commitment to racial equity and viewing things through a reproductive justice lens. And so we're just doing the work moving forward in that way. And I couldn't be prouder of the work that we've done.
Awesome. I remember that the day that Trump was elected, of course, like so many, it was just like shock walking in quicksand. But the next day I reached out to the Planned Parenthood Center that I guess it's maybe their headquarters downtown, somewhere around there. And I said, I want to be an escort. And they were like, we don't have escorts. And at that time, there were no escorts because there wasn't this great system that has been created since then. And I imagine that you were knee deep in being a part of that strategy, because I know that now it's very robust, and it's something that is a great system to help those who are in that process. So thank you.
We love our escorts. They are doing the Lord's work. Literally. And we had actually had one time Planned Parenthood had this virtual reality experience. So you could experience what it was like to be a patient going into a clinic with all of these protesters around you. Whoa. And it was so impactful and sad and angering and all of the, you had all of the emotions. But I think if more people could put themselves in the shoes of a patient, folks might act better. Now, listen, I don't, the way people are acting right now, I don't know, but you know, it was a really powerful experiment, right?
It's such a good idea. So years ago, I lived in Kansas City. It was my experiment for 2 years, and it was fab. I lived downtown in the city market area that was totally fun. However, it was at the time so racially segregated that it was shocking. I'm from LA, so I didn't know what the heck was going on. Why are so many interracial couples not holding hands, and why, anyway, all of that to say, the gyno services that I received were from our local Planned Parenthood downtown, and it's the Planned Parenthood that ended up getting shot up.
Oh my goodness.
Bombed. Remember that?
Right. Yes, I do.
It was maybe 99, 2000.
Yes, because it was around the time that I moved to Arizona, I think. So probably around 2000-ish.
Yes.
I remember that. I mean, I've used Planned Parenthood services on and off throughout, my entire life, right? So to see something like that happen, to see, you know, the bombings and the shootings and the killings, it's just ridiculous. And ridiculous, especially because people just want to get healthcare.
Yeah. Right. And that's, I'm committed to using them for that. That's important to me, that it's through Planned Parenthood. And I know that I have other options, but it's important for me to use them for all of the options they give, so that I can be a small check on the list of women who use them for other things as well. You know, I hate this stigma, and the stigma is only used as a weapon. But I guess what I'm saying is, if it were only for pregnancies or abortions, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
That's great. But I want to be someone who uses it for all of the services, so that people can wake up and realize.
Right. And all of that is healthcare. I mean, point blank, period. All of it is healthcare. Abortion is healthcare. Yeah. Right. And so, you know, one of the things that I'm leaning into personally, but also Planned Parenthood is following along, right, is really talking about abortion in a way that doesn't stigmatize it. Right. Abortion has existed since the dawn of time, since people could become pregnant, right? People have had unwanted pregnancies. And so abortion has been something that has existed. And even if the Supreme Court decides to overturn Roe versus Wade, abortion will still exist, and it will be happening all over the world. Yeah. And so I think that everybody just needs to wake up. Abortion is healthcare, and I don't care what reason anybody has for getting an abortion. I know that some people are very, you know, it impacts them a lot, and other people, it's like, you know, I changed my socks today, right? And we have to honor all of that. That's you know, right. we have to honor that and be clear that, you know, abortion is not a difficult decision for many of the people who get it, right? And so we need to move away from that narrative. Yeah. But yeah, healthcare is healthcare, and abortion is just as valid a healthcare treatment or option as birth control.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. Thank you for being such a warrior for women and our rights. And there are so many things that you are this great leader and warrior for, and oftentimes the target of the backlash for fighting for those things. But I just can't thank you enough. I just think that you are a rock star human, and this is exciting for me, but it's exciting to be a part of the community that watches the changes that you make, because we're all impacted by the fight that you fight, right? We're all impacted by the words you say. And I just want to personally thank you for that, because it takes a lot of strength.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm leaning into taking compliments these days as well, because as women, we're like, but no, thank you for that. It's wonderful to hear those things, because it tunes out some of the other stuff that I get.
Right. I get that. So what I want to do is kind of wrap this up, because I talked a little longer than I usually do, but I just couldn't stop because you've got such great info to share. So what I want to do is get these sort of final speed round questions in, shotgun questions, if you will. So I know, right? Get your muscles. I'm going to throw them at you, and we'll just see what you come up with here. All right. So who's your favorite woman that you would like to spend a little bit of time with on a park bench?
Gloria Steinem. I still got more questions to ask.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Are you a sweet person or a savory person? I actually think I might know this answer, but sweet or savory?
I'm a sweet person, all day, every day. All the cupcakes, please.
Yep. How about your first spend if you win a big lottery?
I'm taking my entire family on a vacation to Fiji.
Oh gosh, we look at these pictures of the Fijian islands and the way that they're like in circles and these boats in the center. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I want to do that. I almost didn't have a wedding. I was like, let's just elope and go to Fiji. But my mother, who's a Baptist minister's kid, would do it. Right.
You will not dare skip the ceremony.
Yeah, it wasn't happening.
Right. What's your favorite book?
Oh, geez, this is hard. I should have probably prepared. You know what? I give for any gift, I give The Giving Tree.
Oh, yes.
I give that book to so many people because I love that message. And I think especially as women, it resonates with us. We give and give and give so we can't give anymore.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, what a great answer. Yeah, absolutely. Best advice you've ever been given?
Gloria Steinem told me to F them.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
She did. She told, and I was like, yes, Gloria, whatever you say.
Yeah. Yeah. F the haters. Yeah. Right. You got work to do, right?
Yeah.
And if you're listening, they're getting in the way. Oh, I love it. I love it. Pineapple on your pizza?
No, but I used to like it when I was in college.
Okay. What's your theme song when you're walking on stage and there are 30,000 people in the audience ready to listen to you? What song you walking on to?
Oh, geez, this is hard because I'm such a music fan. And it would probably be, I would say something by Prince, but I'm going to go with Higher Ground by Stevie Wonder.
Oh, nice one. Oh my gosh, what a great song.
Well, because it's funky, right?
It sure is. Yeah.
You can dance and walk into it. So.
100. It's a great one. Yeah. So are you living past 100?
Hell no. No, I don't want to. I don't want to see myself too wrinkled. And I know black doesn't crack, but no.
Technology, medicine. Really?
No. I mean, by the time I'm 100, I'm gonna be done. I'm tired.
Oh.
I'm a lot. I'm 43, right? I packed in a lot.
Yeah, I get that. But I keep telling everyone I'm going to look like this forever. This is what I love about technology and science and all of that. So bring it. Okay, so what's the best word to describe you?
Oh geez. Feisty.
Yeah.
I think I'm feisty. I'm down for a challenge. I'm down for a fight. And, I say my tongue is less forked than my fingers. Right. I write really just biting stuff, but yeah, feisty.
Oh, that's actually a great line. And you should do something with that. That is a great line. I hear an article around that.
Oh, well, there you go. That'll be the next thing I write once I figure out the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's powerful. And then the last thing, when I'm really old, I hope to see.
Oh, geez. When I'm really old, I hope to see that our society has actually progressed to a point where people, especially my own communities, Black communities, feel liberated. Yep. Like we finally reached liberation, not equality, just pure freedom.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see when I'm 99, because I'm not going to live past 100.
I know, right? I know. But I have to tell you, you just actually made the brain go, because that's the same answer that I have. But you'd went the step further in true Chris teaching fashion. And it's liberation. It's not equality. It's liberation, pure freedom. Thank you for that, because you got that too. And that's mine. That is the same thing that I hope to see eventually. Yeah. And so now you just took the lid off for me. So where can people find you? Where can people find you if they want to get connected? Because you've got a lot to share. You've got a lot to do still.
Right.
Before you're 99. So how can people find you?
Well, I am available on all social media platforms. I go by @LegallyLove on Twitter. I'm Chris Love on Facebook, although I try to keep that one a little bit locked down because I've got, haters and death threats and stuff. And I'm Ms. Chris Love on Instagram. I have a TikTok, but I don't use that bad boy. And you can find me on Clubhouse as well. It's just Chris Love. Cool. So I'm all over the place. I'm probably most active on Twitter these days. So come find me, send me a message, come be my friend.
Yay. I love it. Well, thank you for spending a little time with me. This has been so fun for me. And I just think you are such a fabulous rabble rouser. I mean, And I
That's
love
the
it.
word. Rebel
I love
rouser.
Yes, I totally love it. And before we go, though, because I do have to wrap this up, but before we go, I want to make sure that anyone tuning in knows that this episode, as well as the following episodes that are going to be out for about another month and a half, and everything we've done up until now has been sponsored by an organization called Go With The Flow. And Go With The Flow, yay, provides period packs and supplies to students all over Arizona. Now, these are students that have been hit hard by economic circumstances, so they can't get those supplies at home. So what the Go With The Flow organization does is brings these period packs to the schools so that students can go to the office and get what they need in these cute little packs and doesn't have to worry about the humiliation of not having what they need. Plus, when it comes to graduation rates, sadly, when students are in these financial situations and they don't have what they need, they end up missing a week of school a month, which impacts their graduation rates terribly. So what Go With The Flow is doing is really making a huge impact. And not only are they helping these students feel stable and calm and supported, but they're also helping the graduation rates in this state, which is incredible. So if you're interested in getting involved, yay, make sure that you go to gowiththeflowaz.org and let them know you want to get involved or donate. That's always something that's needed. So Chris, you are the best. Thank you for doing this. It's been so fun for me to finally have this. And
This is wonderful.
I appreciate you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Yay, thanks. And everybody else, we'll see you when we drop the next session. Let's see, I guess it's going to be podcast, webcast, television show soon. Every Monday they usually drop. So thanks for hanging and spending a little time, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.